All right, listen up, Colorado fan. I know that you're upset on what you think and perceive as pass interference at the end of that football game. I get it. I'm not going to say that it wasn't pass interference. I'm not going to say that it wasn't a blown call. What I am going to say is this. On the play where Brown scored a little bit earlier than that, that should have been pass interference against Colorado, and it wasn't called. The referees were not doing anybody any favors on Saturday at all, particularly that football game. It was a 50-50 shot on who could win that game. Both teams had players that were getting hurt. Obviously, Colorado, Travis Hunter, he gets hurt. That was a huge difference in the football game. If he's in, they probably win. But without him, who do you have to go to? And even then, and I love Shador, and he did all that he could. The game was on his shoulders. I'm not going to say that he didn't come through. I think he played about as good as he could given the situation. But obviously for Colorado, I don't see them being able to figure out another way to make it out of the Big 12. It's already their second loss of the season. They can't beat anybody of any relevance. The win over TCU was very deceptive because TCU didn't finish strong. And let's keep it a buck. While people are pointing out Prime's record against ranked opponents, let's also remember how a good majority of those teams finished. Last season, USC lost 5 games in a row. How did UCLA finish? This is not a situation where we can look at the Colorado Buffaloes and go, they've gotten better, because they haven't. They still cannot. Look, they're always playing from behind. You know, people like to say, well, that game against USC was really close. Okay, so number one, a close loss is not a good thing. I don't know when that became a thing, but a close loss is not a thing. And number two, they were getting their asses handed to them at halftime, which is a typical tale with Coach Prime in Colorado. And even average football teams, they struggle very hard with. Central Florida was a different ball game, but we're talking just slightly above average football teams. Kansas State is really not all that spectacular. The Big 12 remains soft. If you can't get through the Big 12, there's problems. And who's all over there right now anyway? I mean, Utah's pretty much already fumbled the bag. So is Oklahoma State. Kansas State didn't look all that impressive. Let's keep it a buck. They made a couple of plays, but that defensive backfield that Colorado has is just non-existent, man. And Brody got shook. I mean, Shiloh got shook, Broham. And Prime even said, look, he didn't play good at all. And, I pointed out at the beginning of the season and last year, I've been talking about this, they've got to figure it out with Travis Hunter. He either needs to be predominantly offense or predominantly defense. I said he wasn't going to make it through the season playing like that. He's not. He's a hell of a football player. He's an incredible athlete. He's a very intelligent football player. He's got a nose for the ball. It's like he knows what you are going to do before you are going to do it. Clearly, he is studying in the film room. He is watching game footage. He takes football seriously. But at some point, and people can say that it's on Travis Hunter all they want to, at the end of the day, Prime is the head coach. And Prime needs to step up and say, look, son, you are phenomenal. You're great. I love what you're doing. You clearly can't make it like this. We really needed you. I need you to make a choice, young man. Mainly offense or mainly defense. I mean, let him have that. But then go from there. And honestly, if I'm Colorado, as much as you need them on offense, boy, I tell you what, that defensive backfield is so bad. I'm begging Travis Hunter to be on defense. I need somebody in there that's a playmaker that can seal off half of that football field. I need somebody that can make tackles. I need somebody to light everybody up. I need fear on that side of the football. I need the quarterback, whoever the hell I'm going against, to be looking across that football field and scared to death that he is over there. That's just all there is to it. Colorado is cooked. They haven't gotten better. And look, I know that people are saying he's 4-2. They're so much better than they were. Folks, number one, this season isn't over. This is a very similar start to what we saw a year ago. And look how it ended up. And even then, okay, let's go with they look better. They're 4-2. They're improving. Do you really, truly believe that Prime is going to be there next season? When Shiloh, Hunter, and Shador decide to go to the NFL draft, do you really think Prime is going to stick around? If I thought Prime was going to be there for another 5 or 10 years, I would absolutely be saying, you know what, they are improving slightly. Let's see how this season ends and then go from there. But I don't think he's going to be there at the end of this year. He's going to dip. And I could be wrong, but I doubt it. Nothing is for certain, right? There's only one guarantee in life, and that there are no guarantees. But I cannot honestly look at Colorado right now and say to myself that they are a truly better football team and that Prime is going to be sticking around. He doesn't have the patience for it. To be fair, he's like everybody else. It's win now. I need wins right now. What do I got to do to get there? Prime isn't willing to truly build the culture. You see, with Schnellenberger, you have to understand why Miami became great in the first place. Because even though a lot of the players initially that he was getting over there were very mediocre, number one, he was getting the best out of them. And number two, they were establishing a locker room of accountability. And that is why that dynasty lasted, because every coach there afterwards, they understood that process, and they got players who understood that process. Prime is not about building for the future. He's about right now. I agreed when he overhauled the Buffs roster the first time. I do not agree with it this second season. You have to build a locker room culture. And without it, you will get destroyed. They already got beat up by Nebraska. We see the difference without Travis Hunter. Kansas State isn't all that phenomenal. Sorry, K-State fan. Your team isn't that great. BYU's still there. I mean, that's pretty much it right now in the Big 12, right? BYU and Kansas State. Utah's not going to be doing anything spectacular. Oklahoma State is cooked. Central Florida, we've already seen how they are. That's a no-go. I said that if there was a season where Colorado was going to be able to make a move, it had to be this year. In the Big 12, they could have easily won 10 games, and I don't see that happening. Sure, winning 7 or 8 games will be a mass improvement, but who are you beating? How are you beating them? Who are you losing to? How are you losing to them? You can't always be behind the 8 ball. You can't always play comeback football. After a while, it just catches up to you. This is not the Cardiac Kids. And even then, it caught up to him. I'm just saying. Alabama. Boy, if I'm an Alabama fan, I am really, really, really worried about the rest of this season. You didn't finish strong against Georgia. You lost to Vanderbilt. You didn't look great against South Carolina. Your best player is 17 years old. Caleb DeBoer, look, man, I said from the jump that it's the Jim Rome situation. I mean, it literally is one of the best quotes of all time. You never want to be the guy who follows the guy. You want to be the guy who follows the guy who followed the guy. Why? Because that next guy, it's not going to happen. Nobody's going to accept the program the way that he wants to run it. You've had a lot of players who transferred out of there because Saban was no longer around. Isaiah Bond was one of the first ones to come out and say, look, man, Saban's not here. I'm out, kid. Went to Texas. You are trying to reestablish a culture to make it your own. What you were left with was still the best program in all of college football. But now you have to maintain it. And you have to maintain it by embracing the old and yet bringing in the new to somehow make it yours. It's not going to happen. And look, I'm with the idea, because I've said this already, the playing field leveling out We're seeing it quicker with the transfer portal than we ever did with the scholarship minimization from 100 to 75. We're seeing it much quicker. I'm not saying that that's not a part of it. But I just don't think that anybody's afraid of Alabama right now. I don't think that mystique is there. When teams played against Alabama before, what do they always do, right? They give you that initial haymaker in the mouth. And then from there, it's kind of like, all right, that's all cute and everything, but we're still Alabama. And once Alabama starts putting up a couple of scores, that's when the mystique kicks in and everybody goes, oh, damn it, man. That ain't happening right now. I think Vanderbilt, and I want to reiterate this from what I said last weekend, I think Vanderbilt watched that Georgia game and said, we're better than Georgia because we know how to finish and start the way that we need to. Not that they're better. Listen to what I'm saying very carefully here. I just don't think they were afraid. And I think that Vanderbilt looked and said, we're better than we've ever been. We're not scared of Alabama anymore. And when the Vandy thing happened, you saw it. There were players from other teams that were watching that go down in the locker room. They were like, what the hell? The mystique is already gone. Nick Saban not being there is slowly crumbling on the foundation because he was the foundation. But now it's beginning to crumble without him there. He built a house, but now can you maintain the foundation? Look, it starts in the locker room with the culture like I talked about with Prime. And I've always said that eventually teams become reflective of who their coach is. And I got to tell you, I think that it's already happening in Alabama. Look at the way Washington finished the year last year. I know that they got there. That's fine. But when all was said and done, they were getting beat up and they didn't know how to deal with it. Now, I understand that Bama, they won the game, right? And I hate using this word because to me, look, you either win or you lose, but man, Bama got lucky. I mean, they got away. The turnovers, and honestly, let's keep it a buck. South Carolina beat themselves. That's legitimately what happened. They beat themselves. Bama's not going to watch film on this game and go, we deserve to win that football game. It's not going to happen. They're going to look at that football game and they're going to go, damn, man, we really should have lost. I know somebody's going to say, well, a win is a win, and they put it together, and they're showing their moxie and blah, 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 blah. That's such BS. Can we stop with that already? They showed grit. No, they didn't. They showed that they are incapable of consistency. That's all they've showed me all season. That they are not a consistent football team. You could have all the flashy plays that you want to, but there's a lot of teams out there that have flashy plays that are not good. You're playing at the D1 level, you're going to make some flashy plays. Just like, it's like a quarterback going to the NFL. Yeah, he made it to the league. He's going to have a couple of great games. That doesn't mean he's NFL ready for real. Sure, they're probably better than 90% of, all the other guys that aren't in the league, but it doesn't mean that they're ready for the long term. The reality is that's where Bama is right now. And look, I don't know they make it out of the SEC. It's not that Ole Miss is that incredible. It's not that Auburn is that strong. I'm not a big fan of OU. They've already got a couple of losses now. Tennessee in their own backyard. Obviously, people saw the Red River game. So that'll be it for them. I just, when you look at the SEC, if Bama makes it out, that's fine. But winning a playoff game, man, as long as they're not on the road, they have a shot. But if they're going to be on the road for a college football playoff game, it's over. I don't think they can win. They have to have a home game. Speaking of OU and Texas, look, obviously both teams got off to a really slow start, right? Kind of a boring beginning to the game. Obviously there was the other stuff that I don't really give a damn about because it's just man shit. I don't care, okay? Dudes will be dudes sometimes and things happen. It's a fucking rivalry game. Brody showed up wearing a horns down chain. It's a rivalry game, people. Stop acting like everything is supposed to be pristine and prim and proper and crisp and neat the way that you think the world should be. It's not the way that the world is. War is a thing, and when you're playing football, I hate to break it to everybody, you are being cussed out as if you were getting ready to go to war. That is how you were coached. And Howard Schnellenberger, who I talked about a little bit earlier, I had the good fortune of interviewing him, and he said other than the military, there is no better preparation for war than football. So there's that. Let's everybody just chill the hell out. It's football, man. I love a lot of people who are watching football, you know, the manliest sport basically that a lot of people will tell you exists outside of maybe MMA, and yet you're so panty drop when it comes to stuff like that, man. I don't get whatever, dude. I don't care, man. Look, here's the point. The formula that Sark has, and I can't believe nobody's picked up on it or they just can't stop it, is pretty damn simple. Run the football up the middle, take a shot deep. Everything else in between is just foreplay. And there's not a whole hell of a lot of it. Sorry, ladies. So it works. Quinn Ewers, shaky. Look, man, I don't know that I saw this coming, but I got to tell you, and look, I understand. I know who Texas played. They look better when Arch is in there. They really do. I know that they pulled it out, but, you know, again, Quinn Ewers, not healthy, turnovers. Look, man, Texas right now, I know they're probably still going to be ranked number one. Out of respect, Quinn Ewers is going to get the start, but they looked a lot better when Arch was in there. He's ready. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And the fact that they found him and the fact that he was willing to wait it out, even with Quinn Ewers coming back, knowing that it would be his starting job, man alive. If I was Texas, I don't know that I would have brought him back. I might have said, look, bro, you might want to hit the transfer portal. Appreciate what you did, amigo, but this Manning kid is ready. He's just so much more versatile. There's so much more that he can do. He might be the best Manning that I've seen yet. And I mean that. And I'm a huge fan of Eli. I've always felt Peyton was overrated. It is what it is. You know, Peyton and Eli's dad, it is what it is. He was all right. You know, played in the league for a while, but kind of more of an underdog player, if you ask me. Regardless, he's ready. And I think that if you really want to make life difficult for the defenses, he just brings so many more options. And Sark is so very one way about doing everything that I personally, when I look at this, I just think to myself, look, man, this is the way to go. Now, I get it. They pulled away. They blew him out, right? They had a pretty good second half. But I'm watching this thing, and I'm just going, man, this is not the same Texas team that I've been watching. And OU's okay. They're not great. And by the way, BS, championship caliber defense, my ass. The offense isn't there. The defense isn't that great. They're mediocre. That's all there is to it. And this is why I've been saying for years that I'm not a big fan of OU. They've been in the Big 12 for how long where they should have been the clear-cut dominant. As soon as all those teams bolted for better ground, they should have been the clear-cut dominant, given the history, given the recruiting capability, and they just couldn't get it done. Well, they played in BCS championship games. Bro, how did they do? I think the one against Florida, wasn't that the closest one that they had? Maybe the one against LSU? Even then, 1-4? Bob Stoops was 8-9. That was his bowl record overall. You're going to sit around and call this man Big Game Bob? They get to the SEC, and they've already lost 2 games. Now, I understand that is the first game for them in Texas in the SEC. That's fine, bro. Okay, but do you really think after the way things went down against Tennessee and Texas that it's going to get any better for them with that gauntlet of a schedule? It's not going to happen, at least not this year. Let's just be clear, all right? Sorry, OU fan. I don't give a damn. You will not convince me otherwise. Sorry, Big 12 fan. I don't give a damn. You will not convince me otherwise. That team has been one of the most overrated teams consistently in college football for years. And every year they get the benefit of the doubt. They get preseason ranked in the top 10, and then this is the result. They are not that good. Stop it. Nobody's waking up and worried about OU right now. Tennessee went and lit their asses up in their own backyard. I don't want to hear it. And OU fans were leaving in the fourth quarter of that game, they were already gone. Now, you think that that's going to fly in the SEC? Are you serious? Do you guys not know how SEC football goes down? Are you not aware of how this works? How the hell do you think you would do it at Tiger Stadium? How do you think you would do in Bama? Ole Miss? Do you really want to play this game? Stop it. Look, they're burnt butter. Burnt butter on burnt toast. It's over. That's all there is to it. It's legitimately over. Look, I don't know how long it's going to be before they can finally make it in the SEC. I don't know how long it's going to be a while. Texas had the very good fortune of being able to get Isaiah Bond. Okay? They were able to get him. That's SEC talent. You're in the SEC. That's a great look for your program. You got a Manning. That's a great look for your program. You're going to win in the transfer portal. Sark clearly embraces it. I mean, you hear about all these other coaches about how they can't stand it and they're so mad at it. When do you ever hear Sark say any of those things? Now, if he hasn't, I missed it. Show it to me, but I haven't seen it. I think he understands what it takes to win in the new college football world. And I think a lot of other people are trying to play catch up. That's what I think. Now, Texas is probably still going to be number one come the polls, but I still think that Georgia's the best team in the SEC right now. So we'll see how it goes down. All right. Didn't get a chance to talk about it. I know I'm a little late to the party, but it is what it is. I don't give a damn. It's my show. So, Aaron, that whole situation. Robert Saleh fired. I would believe that the government doesn't lie to me before I would believe that Aaron had nothing to do with that firing. Now, to be fair, I will say this about Aaron. Whether you love or hate him, he is a straight shooter, right? He's been very outspoken about Travis Kelce calling him Mr. Pfizer. He said what he said about Columbine. He's retracted it since then, but still, he said it. He told everybody on the radio show to relax, RELAX. Remember that when he was still in Green Bay? He was very vocal when he was in Green Bay and saying, look, people do not come here so that way they can be in the cold for 9 months out of the year. They come here to play with me. He very willingly went and tried to open up an IMBD for athletes, and he asked he asked us, common folks, you and me, for money to get that damn thing started instead of, using the $35 million or whatever the fuck it was that he made. He was very clear about preseason's not real football. I mean, he has not held back whatsoever. So, in all fairness, if there are people out there that believe him, I can completely understand why, but I don't. And I don't because I think that he knows he's at a point in his career where everything now is all about how it ended. And especially with the fact that I think he still compares himself to Brett Favre. And I think he still feels like he's in Brett Favre's shadow. I really do. I'm not sure if he ever got over it. You know, and the thing is, he's got a history with being upset with draft picks. He was vocal about that. He's got a history of having problems with coaches, trainers, other wide receivers have accused him of purposely not getting him the football. I mean, all this stuff has gone on with Aaron. So if he's not believable, really, at the end of the day, he's pretty much brought it on himself. It is what it is. And I guess really whether or not anybody believes him should kind of really become irrelevant. Because what is the bottom line scenario right now with the Jets? Number one, yes, coach had a losing record. But the problem is that this is just the Jets. It's who they are. I mean, what did they spend back in 2019? Does anybody remember that? It was like $122 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. Set an NFL record for offseason money spent. Robert wasn't there when that went down. And how well did they do? Look at the Bill Belichick situation. Look how it ended with Bill Parcells. We start looking at this football team and we see their own pattern. We see their pattern. This is not the pattern of anybody else. This is their pattern. And they're the ones making the executive decisions. They are the ones that are bringing in Aaron Rodgers. They are the ones that are saying this and this and this. You know, Aaron's been able to not attend practice, unexcused, no big deal, right? Didn't have to play because it was raining. Look how they did in the rain. I mean, he claimed that he'd practiced more this year than he had any other time in his career. Got more reps in this season than he ever had at any other time in his career. But he didn't win a preseason. Everybody said it was coach's thing. What I see is an organization that has been making the coach take the fall for everything. The defense hasn't had any problems. The offense has had problems. Zach Wilson was back there running for his life. Aaron's having to do the same thing. And by the way, on one of those interceptions that he threw last weekend, I mean, literally we could just 15 yards in front of him. Run. Tom Brady was your age running. John Elway was 39 diving and doing helicopters. What's your problem? Oh, I know, bro. I'm Aaron. Then he wants to say, if I had played better, this wouldn't have happened. I think it's BS. I don't think he really means it. I don't think he means it at all, to be honest with you. And even if he does, what does it matter? Okay, Hackett, who I said I believe Rodgers manipulated that entire situation so that way he could get Hackett there, and that's blowing up in his face. And I think he's just trying to play damage control right now. That's what I think. I think he's just literally doing damage control. Because none of this worked out the way that he intended to. And it all went right in his face. Now, that's the reality of the situation, whether anybody likes it or not. The Jets have self-imploded for years. Why should we think that this would be any different? You got Breece Hall, but you're throwing the football 54 times a game. There are reasons why Hackett got demoted from the position that he was in. And even then, when the play calls were there, again, wide open guy, Rodgers could have connected. They could have taken the lead. Didn't work out, buddy. This is a situation now where you can't make a move and go, we can bench Aaron. There's too much money invested. There's too many problems. And to do that would be maybe the ballsiest thing on planet Earth to do. So you can't do it. You can't get rid of him. You're locked into this deal. He's claiming he wants to be around. But, I mean, let's keep it a buck. If you're the Jets, do you really want to keep him around? You can't tank. That's illegal. So you're just screwed. So now you're going to have to try and trade or do something to move up in the draft and maybe get you a couple of offensive linemen. Maybe another wide receiver in free agency. See what you can get as an O-line in free agency. And then draft a quarterback maybe the next season when you've got a pretty solid team built around. What happened to him being MVP anyway? This is why I hate the media, man. They shove this crap down your throat and they think they're so damn right about everything. They really do. I've been the only one saying, whatever, man. It's not going to happen. What the hell do I know, though, right? And the algorithm holds me down and YouTube holds me down because they don't want people like me out here really exposing this business for what it really is. People make fun of me because of my views. I don't give a damn. I have my respect because I refuse to sell out and make an ass out of myself. If everybody going, well, dude, what about those booty videos that you put up while you're talking and stuff and those girls are twerking in the background? That is me standing up for Paul Pierce. That's exactly what that is. Because of what happened with Uncle Shay. All right, cool, Brody. Shay gets away with it. All right, bet. I got you, Paul Pierce. I got you, Brody. Don't even sweat it, amigo. I know you don't know me. I know you don't, probably even give a damn, but I got you. I like how when Brody asked Uncle Shay, hey, man, did you plan that? Did you plan that? Ha, 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 ha. Of course he did. Like he didn't plan that. Chill out, man. Seriously, we know how it went down, Brody. It's cool. You planned it, you planned it. Man, Colorado's going to be so depleted. Oregon. Oregon. Well, here's the thing, right? I really didn't think Ohio State was that good. Mainly because Will Howard. Now, I think there's a pretty good football team around him. And, the Big Ten is still pretty much the Big Ten, right? And now you've got all these teams that have come over now from the Pac-12, USC, Oregon, etc. And they play a different brand of football. A brand of football that if anybody should be able to keep up with, it should be Ohio State. Because for the most part, those teams all mirror each other. But there's still that physical aspect, right, that we've all talked about with the Pac-12 teams coming over. Can they physically hang? Are they that tough? The playing field is so much different right now in college football that it's really difficult for the most part to say what we believe is really going to happen. Now, if I'm being 100% honest, I didn't think Oregon was going to beat Ohio State. I did not think they were going to beat Ohio State because I don't think that Dylan Gabriel's all that great. And I don't think that Oregon has nearly the football team that they had. And you look at how they started the season, man alive, that was shaky. And I thought maybe Ohio State is not that great. But I thought to myself, they're better than Oregon. You got to be better than Oregon, right? I guess not. Now, here's the conundrum, right? Because Michigan is all but out of it. Ohio State, probably out of it. But USC's not going to do anything. All right, let's keep that a buck. Illinois, Indiana, defensively, they are still very strong. Penn State, I don't think, has enough with Drew Aller. The run game is phenomenal, but Aller, look at the turnovers that he had. What, he had 3 interceptions in that football game on Saturday? Put up a lot of flashy yards, but also a lot of turnovers. So let's be honest about that situation. Oregon might have found themselves at the right place at the right time being in the Big Ten right now. That very well could be the situation. Now, I'm not saying it is. And I'm not suddenly going to go bandwagon or any of that stuff because that's not me. But Oregon, listen closely to what I'm saying here. Oregon may have found themselves at the right place at the right time. You know, there's kind of a weird shift that's kind of happening in the Big Ten right now, right? Michigan's kind of back to not being all that great, okay? Ohio State, they can't figure it out with a quarterback, so that's holding them down. I don't know that they believe in their run game enough for whatever weird reason. Penn State, they've got a really good run game, phenomenal run game. I love Nate, man, but I don't know that they their quarterback is just too many flaws and problems there, right? Oregon is a little bit more balanced for the most part. And the fact that they were able to rely on Dylan Gabriel, that's huge because I didn't think they'd be able to do that. And look, without Bucky Irving and everybody else that was on that football team from a season ago, I really felt like there was going to be a huge drop-off for Oregon this year. Now, it's still early, okay? We're not even into November yet, all right? And we're getting close to week 8, which is where I say that we should actually start ranking football teams. But, man, if you look at the Big Ten right now, I mean, and you're honest about it, Oregon may have very well found themselves right place, right time. I don't think a majority of the football teams over there have enough balance. They don't have enough balance on offense, and most of them have pretty prolific defenses, some championship caliber defenses like Illinois, like Indiana, but offensively they're just not good enough. They can't hold on to leads. Man, this legitimately could have been right place, right time Oregon. Now, here's the thing, though, right? If they come out of the Big Ten, what's going to happen? They're going to get the bye. But where in the bye will they be? Because now it's going to be about your ranking when you're in the CFP with the bye. So what caliber of football team are you going to see? Because there's going to be somebody out there that can create a real matchup problem. We've already seen that with Oregon this season. Look, I'm not saying that they can make it out of the Big Ten. Here's the advantage, right? Even though teams have film now, people always say they don't have film. What you're looking for is footage against a team that is really comparable to what you do. If I'm a head coach, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for them when they play a team that's like us, especially on the defensive side of the football. Because let's keep it a buck. The Big Ten is pretty much about wear you down, muscle you around, and I'm going to see just how long you can last in a 15-round fight. And that's old school heavyweight for you right there. That's a lot, especially like, Penn State, right? And I've talked about that with them before, that's, there's nothing wrong with approaching it that way. It's just that unfortunately sometimes it catches up to you because you don't have enough balance. I mean, you could relate it to NFL teams. You take a look at Chicago right now. I mean, they're a perfect example of having really good special teams, really solid defense, maybe one of the best in the NFL so far this season. I mean, they've forced a turnover every single game that they've been in. And offensively, you got to have a team that takes advantage of it. Well, against some of the poor competition that they've been playing against, they've been able to do that. I want footage with teams that look like mine, and I want their blueprint when they do well against Oregon. Because I don't know if offensively anybody has enough firepower in the Big Ten to really stick it out. I mean, honestly, to me, the best team offensively, it should have been Ohio State, even with Will Howard and all that stuff. But they should have been, to me, the best team in the Big Ten. I guess we'll see how it goes down. Speaking of Chicago, look, they look good yesterday morning. They look great, as a matter of fact. I keep saying that Chicago's problem is not on the defensive side of the football. It's certainly not with special teams. Caleb Williams has improved a little bit. I'm going to give him some of that, all right? Like I said, just because I don't think he's going to make it doesn't mean I'm not willing to do wait and see. That's how it is. Jane Daniels, I think he was the best prospect that was coming out of college, and I'm still wait and see. Had a phenomenal September. So far, he's been good in October. Let's see where Washington is at come January. I'm still willing to wait and see on him. Because Caleb Williams is there now, right? And look, I want to reiterate something that I've said 1,000,001 times, and that is it takes 4 years to truly learn how to be a quarterback in this league. Go look at John Elway's 4th year, Patrick Mahomes' 4th year, Tom Brady's 4th year, Donovan McNabb's. That 4th year is where you really seem to find the make or break in a lot of truly great quarterbacks in the NFL. Sure, every now and again, you get a Jane Daniels. You get a C.J. Stroud, but look how, he's had some problems. I think Stephon Diggs may be too much of a security blanket for him. But the point of what I'm saying here is that I think Chicago needs to rest up a little bit, and because, they're getting beat up offensively a little bit. Those guys need to be resting. They got a bye coming up here shortly, don't they? So everybody needs to kind of take a step back. Caleb Williams, clearly he's in the film room, right? He's willing to obviously critique himself. I still don't think he's going to make it in the NFL. I really don't. There's just still too many things there when I look at it and I go, oh, man, I don't know. And again, we've already seen the frustration with DJ Moore and some of the other receivers. The defense and special teams is holding up their end of the deal. The run game is pretty much there. Guys are getting open. Difficult situations. You look at the difference between Caleb and Jane Daniels. They're putting the ball 100% in Jane Daniels' hands. And he's not fumbling the bag. It was a dominant win over Jacksonville, but it's Jacksonville. I guess a win's a win, especially in the NFL, but it is what it is. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. The show is Underground. We are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all Drew Duncan Radio. Monday and Friday, I am on WBFR Radio, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the morning. WBFR Radio, Block50Radio.com is live 24/7, 365. And, of course, I am on the HHN TV, a.k.a. the Hip Hop Network. Download the HHN TV app on your smart TV, your Fire Stick, Droid, tablet, iPhone, wherever you are, they are. Guys, your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.